Steven Crowder is back on YouTube, and we're going to talk about his lawsuit. And I have a lot to say about that. Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Before we get into our lead story today, please take a moment right now to hit that like button. It really does help the YouTube algorithm push my video out there to other viewers who have not seen my content or my channel. And if you want to support a conservative talk show, please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification button so you're notified whenever we go live, which is every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with that being said, our lead story of the day is our only story of the day. Steven Crowder has finally returned to YouTube. His show is back on today at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you go over, subscribe, like his video, and make sure you give him that viewership so you can support not just one conservative talk show like the Bald Brad Show, but other ones such as Steven Crowder over there at Louder with Crowder. Now, I also want to discuss his lawsuit that he filed back on May 14th with YouTube. It's a little bit of old news, but I wanted to make sure that we give him the spotlight today because he deserves that spotlight. And it is also a big deal when we're talking about censorship as well as big tech and what they're doing to conservatives. This comes from the Heritage Foundation. It is written by Kara Frederick. Steven Crowder is suing YouTube over vague rules, but it's not just about him. Couldn't have more of an appropriate title. Conservative comedian Steven Crowder filed notice last week of lawsuit against YouTube claiming this is the big one, boys and girls. Crowder's May 14th filing follows his second strike in as many months. In March, YouTube demonetized Crowder's channel and issued his first demerit of 2021 on grounds that one of his videos contained COVID-19 misinformation. Now, the problem with this is they're giving him strikes, but they're not giving other people strikes. There's a ton of misinformation out there regarding COVID, but you're only seeing a one-way street here. You're only seeing attacks on conservative like Crowder, who represents basically a lot of conservatives. He's one of the biggest, if not the biggest conservative talk show on YouTube. And so when they're targeting him, you're basically targeting all of us, because if you're saying, hey, we're going to go after this guy, but we're not going to go after the Democrats, we're not going to go after the leftists, we're not going to go after Dr. Anthony Fauci, we're not going to go after Bill Maher, we're not going to go after any other outlet, we're just going to focus on Crowder here because we want to set an example. We want to set an example. If conservatives open their mouth and say anything that we disagree with, we're going to target you and we're going to deplatform you, and it's happening to Crowder right now. So that is why this lawsuit is really important, because it's true. It's not just a representation of Crowder here, it's a representation of conservatives as a whole and free speech. In April, Crowder earned strike 2 under the pretext of harassment and cyberbullying. If you really want to go there, there's a lot of people that you could apply that standard to, which is why this lawsuit is also important, because it's vague. It's vague how they're throwing this stuff at conservatives, and at times they're even just demonetizing people or getting rid of them, and it's kind of being really loosey-goosey, which is what's happening to Crowder here. One more infraction in the designated 90-day window, and he will be permanently cut off from his 5 million YouTube followers. Now, if you get 30 strikes within a certain, if you get 3 strikes within a certain time frame without those strikes following off after a certain amount of period, I believe a strike will expire after 30 or 90 days or something like that. And so if you accumulate so many strikes within a period, meaning 3, they literally delete your channel. All that work that he's put in over the course of 10 years or something like that is just gone, evaporated, poof. So this is a big deal because he's coming back on today, and if he says something YouTube doesn't like or disagrees with, he might be gone, which is a big deal for all of us, because what's stopping them from coming after me, Ben Shapiro, Andrew Klavan, Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, the Hodge twins, Lord knows who else, Brandon Tatum for the Officer Tatum. I mean, everybody, ABL, Anthony Brian Logan, like all the conservatives here, this sets kind of precedence for all of us in seeing which direction big tech's going to go with handling our YouTube channels as well. Crowder is, after all, a comedian, but his undue scrutiny ignores a morass of unpunished violations that proliferate on YouTube all around him. If the coronavirus misinformation standard were applied consistently, Dr. Anthony Fauci's announcement in March 2020 that there's no reason to walk around with a mask would have been struck from the platform during the height of the pandemic. Meaning, look, back in March, Anthony Fauci's saying, look, you don't need to mask up. You could carry on your life as if it were normal. There's nothing going on. Well, that's misinformation, because then he twisted his words later on and said, well, now we need masks. Heck, you need a double mask. You need a triple mask. You can't go outside. Shut everything down. The world's going down. Right? Even so, statistically, if you have no underlying conditions, you'd be more likely to be struck by lightning than to die from COVID. But we can't say stuff like that because it's misinformation, right? Statistically, it's misinformation, which statistically it's not. But, Anthony Fauci, is the love of Democrats and the left, so he's going to be left alone. If the harassment and cyberbullying standard were applied uniformly to comparable accounts, left-of-center comedian Bill Maher's glee over billionaire businessman David Koch's death would no longer be searchable on Maher's channel. But you can still get it. Why? Because Maher is on the left, or at least a Democrat, and BigTech's fine with that. Why? Because Maher pushes the narrative somewhat. Sometimes he is pushing more central to right. There are some things that Maher agrees with us on, but everybody knows that Maher is left of center. So why is he not being attacked by YouTube? Because he's left of center. Other platforms are just as guilty. The tweets of Iran's supreme leader, this one blows my mind, remain active despite Twitter's suppression of information on the New York Post Hunter Biden Ukraine story. So again, the suppression of the Hunter Biden story is not okay. But, the Ayatollah saying death to America and wanting to destroy the Western civilization, the United States, that's totally cool with YouTube because it fits into the narrative. Again, YouTube and the left and Democrats think that America is systemically racist and that it needs to be destroyed from the top down or from the bottom top, that you need to rebuild America. You need to get rid of all its institutions because the systems are racist, and that's why you need to rebuild it. So if it goes against the narrative of not destroying America and trying to make it a better place, that's not okay. But if you want to talk about death to America, they're all for it. Unbelievable. Drug cartels advertise on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Chinese Communist Party spokesmen churn out woke and critical race theory infused propaganda on a regular basis. Antifa and Black Lives Matter glorify political violence and figureheads who delegitimize free and fair elections, such as Stacey Abrams retained blue check marks. So left and right, this article from the Heritage Foundation is proving Crowder's point here, that there's a double standard that these big tech companies are doing. They're going to go after the conservatives for posting. Nothing wrong, by the way, that Crowder has done. Nothing wrong at all from what I've seen. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a conservative and Republican. I'm saying that because what I've seen Crowder do, I watch him every morning before I go into work. So I support him. But if he does something stupid, then you got to call him out and be like, yeah, you messed with their terms of use or their agreements and now you got hit with it. I'm just not seeing it, and maybe I'm blind to all of it, right? That's what people say. Well, you're just blind. You don't see it. It's unconscious. You don't know that it's happening, right? You're so conservative that you just don't have a clue, man. So who knows? Who knows? As such, conservative voices like Crowder should not be sacrificed on the altar of big tech. Yet the fight is not about Crowder, and this is important. Instead, it's a crisis of the tech titan's own making. Inconsistent enforcement of vague rules, the opacity of content moderation practices, and a lack of recourse are the hallmarks of big tech today. So Crowder is kind of that sacrifice, like Isaac, he's or Jesus, right? I'm not saying he is like them, but I'm using the analogy here of if he goes down, we all go down. He's the representation of the conservative media at this moment in time. He's one of the biggest conservative channels on YouTube, if not the biggest one. So this is going to kind of set precedents for all of us smaller guys of, look, if you're going to take him down, what's stopping you from taking me, a guy down with that's 2,000 subscribers, that's a nobody? What's stopping you from doing that and silencing? Hell, nobody would know if I got silenced other than the guys that watch this regularly. So nobody would know that I ever got deplatformed or silenced or censored or anything of the nature. So this is a big deal for all of us, not just Crowder here, but all of us small guys and all the other big guys like the Daily Wire, Charlie Kirk, the Tatum, Brandon Tatum, ABL, Anthony Brian Logan, the Hodge twins, all those guys, all those big stream conservatives, mainstream conservatives, they're all watching this. All eyes are on what Crowder's lawsuit is going to happen and what's going to be the outcome of it. Crowder's latest legal move points to a broader, more pernicious trend taking hold in Silicon Valley and beyond. He threatened to file suit against big tech before as recently as February. The evolution proceeded slowly at first when platforms banned gratuitous chaos agents such as Alex Jones and Milo Yiannopoulos. Many conservatives were reluctant to defend them, even on principle. Now social media companies are sprinting away with the goalposts. Now, with Milo and Alex Jones, I don't agree with them on anything. I more find them entertaining than anything. There's a lot of things on Alex Jones I don't agree with. There's a lot of things on Milo Yiannopoulos that I don't agree with, but I don't think they should be deplatformed. I don't think they should be censored or silenced, but that's what ultimately happened to them. Look, there's going to be a lot of things that people are going to say in your life that you disagree with. That doesn't mean you silence them. That doesn't mean you stop them from talking. You just have to create better ideas, better thoughts, so people listen to you and don't listen to them. So this is just, it's sad that the culture that we have today and how big tech is running it is very, very scary for me, and I'm sure for all of you. What began as an effort to ban fringe outlets such as Jones InfoWars has rapidly expanded to the restriction of traditional conservative news. Can pro-life group Live Action post on Pinterest? No. What of Ryan Anderson's conservative take on trend identity in his book 2019, When Harry Became Sally, booted from Amazon? The Northern Virginia Tea Party was even a casualty of email delivery service MailChimp's misinformation policy earlier this year. Similarly, non-conservatives such as Canadian free speech activist Lindsay Shepherd, who refused to conform to today's woke litmus test, are in many tech companies' crosshairs. Such censorship of mainstream voices reveals the pitfalls of allowing these platforms to determine what is legitimately fringe, not to mention truth itself. So what they're saying is that YouTube, Facebook, these big tech companies get to decide what type of message you're going to receive. They're going to decide what is truth, what is fact, what is false, and what isn't. The problem with that is when you leave it up to them, we've already seen the mistakes that they have, and if they have a bias and they have a narrative, which they do, they're going to construe to manipulate and ultimately push propaganda out there to the public, and that's going to change public perception. That's going to change public minds, and not always for the better. It could be for the worse. Example, critical race theory, 1619 Project. America is a racist, systemically racist country. All these things are being pushed upon not just children, but adults, and they're starting to believe it. Prime example, CNN. The technical director of CNN, Charlie Chester, went and got exposed by Project Veritas for saying, look, we're pushing propaganda. Our next big thing is climate change, and fear sells, and we're going to push it whether it's real or not real. Look, it doesn't matter. It gets us views, and people want to see that stuff, and you're changing public opinion. And they even said, we think we're one of the reasons why Trump got ousted was because of our negative take on him consistently and fabricating and manipulating stories about his health and other things that Trump was doing. So it's not a shock that big tech and mainstream media are doing these types of things, but it is a scary moment because, again, you're changing public perception. I'll give you another prime example of changing public perception. There's a lot of percentage of left-leaning people or left of center that think that more than 10,000 unarmed black men are being shot by the police every single year. I think it's in the 30 percentile range. Think more than 10,000 people are being shot by the police, meaning specifically unarmed black men. Folks, it's like 18 people in an entire year, not even close to 10,000. But that's what the mainstream media, that's what big tech has power on, because if I say that, I could be deplatformed or silenced. It's real. Anybody can look this stuff up. Hell, left-leaning news outlets talk about it. But when conservatives talk about it, when you say, whoa, people out there are saying that 10,000 more unarmed black men are being shot by police every single year, and that's just ludicrous, then you're deplatformed. If I give real information, I'm deplatformed. But if other people go, oh, there's 10,000 unarmed black men being shot by the police every year, they're just hailed as, being holier than thou, and that information is all good. That won't be removed. But my information that's factually true is the one that's going to get removed. That's why, again, I know I'm repeating myself, this lawsuit is so important. Americans can and should hit back in past time for concrete, actionable solutions. Proposals like those working their way through state legislature across the country must empower the public to hold these companies accountable for the disproportionate application of their own standards. And I love the use of here. I wish they would have used disparity and not disproportionate, but kind of goes hand in hand. But the left love talking about disparities, that if there's disparities, there's racism. Everybody should be equal. Everyone should be the same. There should be fairness. There should be equity, all these things. But when it comes to mistreating conservatives, they totally turn a blind eye to all this stuff. So it's so wish-washy the way the left and the Democrats run the show. And, when you have the left running culture, big tech, entertainment, you're seeing this happening all over the place. But most importantly, conservatives should amplify efforts to investigate a genuinely competitive market with alternatives and technical solutions at all levels of the tech stack. Restoring the balance of power between the tech companies and their users is an experiment worth conducting. It's only our culture of free expression that's at stake. So other alternatives that we have going on right now, other than YouTube, is Rumble. There's a lot of investors that are putting money into Rumble right now. We'll see if that can compete against YouTube. I mean, YouTube has a lot of the market share on this stuff, but also with other social media platforms, we're still holding out that Trump is going to start his own social media network. I don't know why he wouldn't. He's like the guy that is the face of social network within the 2020s. So I don't know why he wouldn't. You would have a lot of conservatives flock over there. You'd probably be the dominant conservative outlet for a social network. I mean, Rumble was there for a while. The problem with Rumble is it didn't have the most elegant return when they came back. You have, I believe, Candace Owens' husband is the one that's running it. I think he's the CEO over at Rumble. But, you know, we need another alternative here. And I know a lot of conservatives, such as myself, are looking at Trump to start his own platform over there. Heck, you know, anything that Trump would start up, we'd probably all flock over to, and you know that he would do a good job because the guy's a businessman. But hey, let's give Crowder his spotlight today. Crowder is returning to YouTube again right after my show ends here. He's going to go ahead and go live. But folks, please make sure you support all conservative talk shows. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button, but also the bell notification button. I'll keep you updated on this lawsuit and this filing that's going on with YouTube, as well as the other lawsuits that Crowder has out there against Big Tech. Again, let's make sure we go support our fellow conservative, Steven Crowder, and show him a lot of love. Tell him Bald Brad sent you, and I'll see you tomorrow here on The Bald Brad Show.